Get started. Hi, well done. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Joko. I'm one of the teachers here and an academic coordinator at EduLink. My favorite thing is teaching IELTS. I love to teach my IELTS students. I have a very professional staff here that are dedicated to IELTS instruction and more experience, I think, than any other school that you'll find in this country. And it isn't exactly like a class. A class would be a little bit, there would be more interaction. It wouldn't be me up here talking. But in a seminar like this, I'll give you as much information as I can during the short amount of time. Today, what I want to focus on is the speaking test. How many of you have already sat the IELTS exam one time? Who has already sat the IELTS? None of you. Okay. All right. Well, the speaking test, people find it to be difficult because it's not. What I mean is, how often in life would you find yourself in a room with foreigner sitting down across a desk from them and answering questions? Doesn't happen, right? Doesn't happen often. But if you think about it, there are other times in life when everyone will find that they need to sit face to face with someone and answer questions. Yeah? All right. What are some other situations where we might find ourselves sitting across from someone answer questions? An interview, right? A job interview. Absolutely. What other kind of interviews might there be? Scholarship, good. College, yeah, college scholarship, yeah. You want to go to another country? Sure. You might have to sit for a visa. Yeah. I do all the time in my job, because when you want to study at a language school, you have to sit down and do what do they call that? Call it a placement test, an English, spoken English. You know, other situations, visa interview. Hopefully you won't have to file a police report, right? But if something gets stolen or you need to report something that's missing, maybe you witnessed something and the news wants to interview you. Well, what did you see? Not necessarily a desk. In business, they often use focus groups, where a bunch of people together to ask you about what you feel about products, meeting events, courtroom, testimony in a courtroom, a game show, instances where you might. So it's not like it never happens, but all of these things, okay, what do you have in common? Why are they asking you questions? They're asking you questions because they want certain types of answers. You're not at the police station for a good time. You're not sitting in an interview to have a conversation. There's certain things they want to hear to give you the job. Same in an IELTS speaking test. It's not a question of personality. They don't care about that. They don't care, what you say exactly. More about your ability to use English as a spoken language. So, what do they all have in common? They want to do something. I want you to answer it, to know something. To do well in the speaking test, you need to, the interviewer is looking for something they want to hear. Give them what they want. That's the key, number one key to success in the speaking test. Well, what is it? What do they want? Well, in the IELTS speaking test, what they want to hear is what they want to hear is, how do you use spoken English to do a variety of things? Okay? They want to know how well you use English to show control over a variety of grammar forms. Not just use, but control. What does that mean? That means I use it correctly more than once. I use it without, I don't make the same mistakes more than once. It's okay to make mistakes, but if you make a mistake again and again, it shows that you don't have control of that grammar feature. Now, what is grammar? Some people just think of tenses. That's the most obvious forms. Tense, past tense, past simple, past continuous, present continuous, past perfect, present perfect, continuous, future perfect continuous, future past simple, future perfect simple past. But there's more to it than that, okay? And the number thing I'd say, the number two thing is complex sentences. Sentence is two sentences or more that could stand by themselves, connected with a conjunction or some other form of connecting word. Okay? Those are the big two. That's what they're looking for. But there's other well. For example, being able to use passive voice. The house was built by my grandfather. My grandfather built the house. It's not a grammar lesson, but that's one of the grammar features that they're looking for. Conditionals. If you use conditional, you will impress the examiner. If and will, but not just if. Unless. You will not do well unless you use conditionals. Even if, when, these are all conditionals. And then some other things. Used to. I used to do this. I don't do it anymore. When I was a child, we would go bicycling around. These are examples. Modal verbs. I can use. You should do this. You mustn't do that. Modals are verbs that help other verbs. Ellipses, which are missing words. Reported speech. Even things like verbs. Being able to use those. Frequently. Frequently. Use them frequently. And articles, a and the. Very simple form of grammar, but one people seem to get. Okay, what else do they want to see or hear? You to say exactly what you mean by using appropriate vocabulary. One common myth with the writing test is that you use very high-level vocabulary, rarely used level vocabulary, you will improve your score. No, it's not true. Most of the time, people try to use that high-level vocabulary. They're doing one of two things wrong. They're putting it in places that it doesn't fit in the sentence with the other words that are around it, or it's completely obvious that they were trying to fit that word into the sentence, and it's mechanical. It sounds like you're memorizing it, and you're not speaking naturally. So you need to use not high-level vocabulary, but appropriate vocabulary. And that comes in not just meanings, but word forms. Word forms, a lot of words in English have multiple: exciting, excited, excitement, excite. You got a noun, you got a verb, an adjective form of the same word. And if you can use the different forms of the same word, that's also going to, that's what they're looking for. The ability to control different forms. Okay? I just threw some other ones in here. I think this always impresses extreme adjectives. You will not get any points if you use the word good. What did you like about the restaurant? Oh, the food was good. Okay. You know, good, bad, clean, dirty, these basic adjectives. It's delicious, scrumptious, tasty. It was horrible, disgusting. So, it was thrilling, not just exciting, but thrilling. Cold, it was freezing. The nice thing about these adjectives, like delicious, I'll get to this in a minute, but extreme adjectives that mean very something are almost always words that you can stress appropriately. So it wasn't, the food isn't good. The food was delicious. Do you hear how my voice goes up when I say delicious? I'm using my voice to emphasize a word. And this is something that we do in English, and it's an important part of it. I'll get to that. That's one other reason why extreme adjectives are an important bit to learn. Idiomatic expressions. Don't do it. But an idiom is some words that mean something different than what it actually says. It was raining cats and dogs. Cats and dogs are falling out of the sky. It means, what does it mean? Reading heavily. Right, okay. That's one. But in the speaking test, you need to use idiom to get a really good score. If you don't, you still get okay. On an outstanding score in vocabulary, you'll need to have some idioms in your toolbox, okay, things that you can use. And then topic-specific words. In the test, there are some topics in part 1 that, I'd say there's about 10 that you're almost certain to hear 1 or 2 out of this 10. Things like your hometown. Tell me about where you live, your house. Tell me about your school. You work or study. If you study, they'll ask you about school. If you work, they'll ask you work. Those are 2 very good common ones. Other things, your neighborhood, your town, I've said, your family, your friends. Things that are very common to you. With those words, those topics, you should learn some very descriptive vocabulary. Like in Jiangong, and we have a problem with urban development right now. That's city planning has not been all that great in the past. In the rainy season, we have a bit of an issue with the storm sewers. Well, that's where the water goes up the street. Things like topic-specific vocabulary on the main topics. You should, for family, you need to know things like Well, I've got 12 cousins and 14 nephews and nieces, and things like that. Okay. What else are they looking for? We've got grammar, we've got vocabulary, we've got, and this one is hard to say, this is answer that's fluent. Fluent, it comes from the word flow. It comes out of your mouth easily, without a lot of, let me think. One thing that people do when they're not sure what to say next is they'll repeat themselves. You want to be with a repetition. It's just normal human nature to repeat yourself. Okay? So don't hesitate for words. Signposting discourse markers. This is particularly true in part 2. Well, if we have time, I hope to, we'll look at all 3 parts. Speaking test. In part 2, you need to give a long answer, 2 minutes, and sometimes you'll need to tell a story or discuss something in a long form. Signposting and discourse markers are words that first, they tell the listener where you are in the story. Second, they make it easier to follow. Third, they'll get you points. Those kind of first, second, third. Those think, here we are. Okay. Or if you're telling a story. Initially, at the beginning, we didn't think this was going to happen. But then, finally, our discourse markers. Okay, and reasons and examples. Now tell me about your favorite restaurant. Okay, well, I like a place called on Chuntal Road. Okay, tell me more. Give me reasons and examples to extend your answer. However, I find that a lot of my students here is that I've been here 6 years. Okay, I've been doing this a while. Most of my students don't have a problem with giving long answers. Okay? Sometimes the bigger problem is stop. You keep going. And it's becoming more and more common for examiners to interrupt people. Okay? You'll be in the middle of saying something, okay, thank you, and they'll go next question. Why? Because they have a certain number of questions that they have to get through. Okay? He's quick about that in a minute. So if they interrupt you, don't worry. Don't do it. That's okay. Meant to do it. Don't do that. Okay, so immediate answers that are to and address the topic you're being asked. Last thing I want to hear is show pronunciation features. This, in language school, we try to, but not something that you get instruction on a lot, which is not just the pronunciation of words, but intonation. What do I mean by that? Okay. Themes and consonant clusters. That means your sounds like a, and your sounds like a, and your sounds like a. Anyway, the particular pieces of sound that make up English, like those thing on the post over there, those are all the phonemes. One of the biggest problems, and again, this is from my knowledge of working here in Myanmar, it's true throughout much of Asia, is the consonant clusters at the ends of words, where you get 3 or 4 consonants, at the end, first, this, all together, one, and it's not part of your native language. Everything ends in a vowel or ends in an N. That you need to listen to yourself and listen. Is that a problem of mine? I'll give you 5 minutes listening to you if it is, but it is very common for the consonants at the ends of words are. These are features. Mock speaking tests with people. where, do a recording, and the person's answer was very, very good. It was very fluent, and it came out very quickly, and there was no hesitation to it, and it included a lot of very interesting vocabulary, but there was absolutely no intonation to it whatsoever. Did you understand any of that? No. Okay, intonation is how our voice goes up and goes down to express different levels of meaning. Okay? Well, more than that, that's intonation or meaning. Also, we use it to signal the end. In English, when you're speaking a sentence, at the end of the sentence, your voice naturally goes down. Your voice will naturally go down. If you're asking a question, your voice will go up. And those ups and downs of tone are something that they're looking for. I'll never forget this one student I had. I can't remember her name, but she used to take her IELTS test. She was smart. She was about 19, 20 years old, same age as a lot of you. And she didn't want to be an engineer, I could tell. She'd come to class, and the whole class she'd sit like this. And then, when she was speaking in class, okay, all right, so tell me about your favorite restaurant. My favorite restaurant is the Golden Lily. and it was like, you'll never get it if you're constantly talking like this. And she seemed annoyed and angry. And she would talk to us like this sometimes. This is also another common problem. People think that if they speak you, all right, they're easier to answer than what you'll get later. And really, they're meant a couple of things. First, to get a feel for your basic ability to speak, but also help you relax. They want you to do well. So they won't start you off with a question about, what do you think the future of robotics are? They'll start off with, okay, what's your favorite color? Something that's easy to answer. It's about you. So, however, there should be a difference between a good answer and a great answer. Okay, what kind of questions might you run into? Let's talk the weather. Tell me about the seasons in your country. All right? All right, this is the kind of question. Considering those things we just talked about. Using spoken English to show that you have control of grammar, that you have control of, or that you use appropriate vocabulary, that your answer is immediate, there's no repetition, and use pronunciation features. Does this do this?
Yeah, every season. The hot season is from March to May or June. The rainy season is from June until November. And we have the cool season. My favorite season.
A little bit quiet. Let's see if I can make that a little bit louder. Try that again.
In Myanmar, we have 3 seasons. The hot season is from March to May or June. We have the rainy season. It is from June until November. Then we have the cool season. It's my favorite season.
Okay. Well, long enough, 3 or 4 sentences. Okay? All right. Now listen to this answer. Make it fair. Wait, what? Okay. Click on it.
Well, there's 3 seasons in my country, not 4. I suppose the longest is the rainy season, the monsoon. Starting in late May, you can count cats and dogs every day during that part of the year. And eventually it slows down. There's a cool, dry season. They say sweet December because it's so nice that time of year. And it slowly burns. By April and May, it's boiling hot.
Okay. So which answer was better, do you think?
Second answer.
All right, well, let's look at why. Okay. There. All right, there's the first one. Okay. And here's the second one. Okay. So, look more closely. Oops, wait a minute. All right, before we get exactly what makes one answer better than the other, I need to introduce to you the official descriptors of what they're looking for. Four things. I didn't make them up. Okay, they're not me. They are these things. The band descriptor. This is what they use to decide if you're a 6, 7, or 5. I didn't include 5, going for a 5. Okay, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and these are the official descriptors. You can get them online. You can get these. Just type IELTS band descriptors, and again, this is the speed. There are two different ones for writing. Two things I want to point out. First, what does it say there? It says public version. It means there's some that right. They don't tell us everything. They're very private, very secretive there with the IELTS. Yeah, there are other things they're looking for. The other thing I say about it is that when I share this with most students, they look at this and it's, I don't understand. Okay, produces a majority of error-free sentences with only very occasional inappropriacies or basic non-systemic errors. Non-systematic errors. What does that mean? Uses some less common and idiomatic vocabulary and shows some awareness of style and collocation with some choices. It's very complicated. Most people look at that, it's very hard to understand. I want to break it down into something a little easier to about. What to remember. Okay, grammar, or what they call grammatical range and accuracy. Range is the variety, accuracy is how correct. Okay, what they call lexical errors. Here I'm calling appropriate vocabulary. Fluency, answering immediately. Coherence, being able to be understood, to making sense, and that you're answering the question that's being asked. So I call this immediate answers, and they're together answers, and pronunciation, sound. So once you try to remember all of this thing, all these four things you got to do is think of the word gravitas. Now the word gravitas is a word, okay? It means seriousness, importance. If you say gravitas, the things you're saying are very important. So you don't have to speak with gravitas. The regular meaning, but try to speak with gravitas in this meaning: grammar, appropriate vocabulary, immediate, together answers, and sound. All right, so let's go back and look at our answer here. All right, so does this have gravitas? Let me see this. What do we have here? Oh, not sentences, tenses. Yeah, it's all in the present simple. Which answer, talking about the weather, might be okay. How many different verbs does he use? Two. Have and is. Yeah, this is a very common thing. Oh, yes, no. What's wrong? Okay, like I said, it's all have and is. Have and is, have and is, have and is. Okay? It's not possible to speak without using have or sometimes. You will. But if every sentence is or are or am or have or has, be careful. It's a common speaking error. Okay, this one. Well, what do we got here? Okay. Yeah, okay, it's all still in the present tense, which is fine. We have examples of complexes. Right, it eventually slows down, and there is the cool, dry season. This is because, okay, another and in here. Now, most of them are complex. Okay, how about idiomatic speech? Idioms.
Boring cats and dogs.
Cross and dogs, yeah.
It's boiling hot.
Boiling hot, yeah. Not just it's hot, it's boiling hot. Even, sweet December is kind of idiomatic. Okay. And then some other less commonly used vocabulary, not vocabulary, but what is this? Okay, longest. Okay. Hotter. Okay. This is what they call a superlative adjective, right? Long, longer, longer. Here's a comparative, an adverb, slowly. Okay? Even things like so and such. It's so nice that. It's such a day. So these little sort of supporting characters in the world, like comparison and modals and so and such and these types of things are worth using as part of the team. Okay. So no. So he used pronunciation to talk about comparison. Okay. Well, get started. There's 3 seasons in my country, not 4. 3, 4. You're comparing 2 things, and you would use your pronunciation to highlight 3, not 4. Okay. Here, specific vocabulary to the topic. They might ask about the weather, and knowing this is higher level vocabulary, uncommon vocabulary. The monsoon is the rainy season, and knowing that will help you. Here we have a modal verb, right? Can count. Okay. We have idioms, verbs, more idioms. Okay. All right, and don't be afraid. Don't use it too much, but you want to sound natural. And we would normally say, it gets hotter. In your reading, don't say it gets hotter. Say it becomes hotter. But in speaking, it's perfectly okay to use words like get. Okay. So here's a list of common topics that you might come up with, that you might find in part 1. Okay. Study, work, your home, the place you live, your family, friends, clothes, gifts, daily routine. What do you do? What time do you get up? Do you get enough sleep? Things like that. Food, going out, hobbies, the internet, what you do with your spine, music, your neighborhood, newspapers, teams, pets, reading, music, shop, sports, television, transportation, weather, culture, and traditions. Very common things. Not a complete list. Yeah. They'll eventually throw a strange one at you, like, what do you think about, how important are flowers? Flowers? I don't know. They'll come up with some strange ones. Okay, so when you think about giving them what they're asking for, what to think about is, whatever the topic is, the questions are going to come in some similar. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say the topic is X. Okay, X, for this exercise, X means anything. Now, is X. There will be certain types of questions, and these questions are written not because they care about the answers. They don't care. What these questions are designed to do is to elicit, to bring out certain aspects of grammar and vocabulary. Not asking you the question, they're asking you, do you know how to answer this question? So, for example, top desk, and the candidate says, so has X. Say X is marketplaces. So, have markets changed much in the last 5 years? Okay? Now, brain needs to recognize that that question is designed to bring out a language that teachers use to talk about things that happened in the past, but an effect on now. Okay? What is that? The present perfect tense. Okay? Now, it really that the question has or have markets changed in the last 5 years? If the question is in the present perfect, your answer should be in the present perfect. But then, it's not always that simple. That's why they're asking that question. Okay? So, all right. They'll talk, okay? Questions might ask you to talk about recent changes. They might ask you, what was your first experience with a pet? You know, what was the first newspaper you read? What was the first time you went to a restaurant? Do you prefer going to a restaurant or eating at home? Do you prefer hot weather or cold weather? Do you like or dislike this thing? What's your favorite? X, whatever that might be. Do you think is different in your country than it is in other countries? Is it common or uncommon? Have you ever asked about your life experience? There's one. You could do Z with X. If you could have a different pet, any pet, you could have any type of car that you wanted. What type of car would it be? Did you ask about what you did in the past? Do people usually, sometimes, often? Now, in each one of these, they're asking you for a different type of grammar feature. And class, but we still have handouts. Okay. Where's my thing? Oops. Okay, well, yeah. Remember that list I showed you earlier, types of grammar features? Okay, let's think about. Tell me about your first experience. Let's think of a random topic. Do you remember the first time you went to a restaurant? First restaurant you remember? What type of grammar are they asking you to use? Exactly. Yeah, the past simple. It's that past. Why? Because it's an event in the past that's finished. It's done. It can only happen one time. So they're asking you to use the simple past. Do you prefer X or Y?
Present simple.
Present simple, but what else? You don't just say, well, I prefer going out. You need to say why. what type grammar word, not tense, but remember when we looked at the examples? Why do you like X more than Y? Because X is more. Yeah, comparatives. Yeah, they're asking you to use some comparatives in this question. Now, you can work together with the people around you, okay? And take a few minutes and go through this list and write down what you think they're asking you to do in each case. Okay, we are live streaming this, so this is, here, take a picture of that. Oh, you can see it on the board, right. Okay, so take a couple minutes, work with your partners. What type? Did you get one? We've got one person. Hello. Okay, X can be anything. Okay, let's go through these now together. First experience in past tense. All right, simple and imperative. Favorites or superlative, the greatest, most. X different in your country than others. Once again, comparatives. Thank you, let you share. X. Yeah, now, there's no such thing as the future tense. You know, people say will is the future simple, but will be going to present continuous, different forms to use the future, talk about the future. That's what I call future forms. Present perfect. If you could X, would you? What are they looking for? Specifically, unreal conditional, second conditional. If you could, would you? Did you X when you were a child? What else? Sorry, I mentioned it earlier. One of the supporting characters in grammar, used to. Even just saying like used to or would. We use this to talk about repeated actions in the past that we don't do anymore. Okay? How often? Here they're looking for Adverbs of frequency. Sometimes, often, occasionally. And the correction of those in a sentence. They go before or after the verb. Okay? How should people act? Modal. Should. I think people should. That's a modal verb. Main advantage. Once again, superlatives, comparatives, and frequency, present, continuous. I usually do this when I am in, while I am in, something in. Okay. All right. Let's see. We will take a 5-minute break, okay, in case anybody needs to go to the bathroom or anything. And we'll start again at exactly 7:30, okay? Taking a break.